Hello and welcome back to another video in the Complete Web Dev series. We are getting towards the end of our content management chapter, and the purpose of this chapter was to build a project using object-oriented programming, and so that's the main goal of here. Not really to build the best CMS. Now, this is going to be our 30th video, and you might be saying to yourself, we haven't hardly done anything. There's not really anything done on the screens. Like, how could we be almost done? Well, it's because we put so much work and effort into building out the core structure of our framework that now we get to reuse a lot of code that we've already written, and now it's going to be just kind of buttoning some stuff up and putting our screens together and just doing some basic CRUD operations pretty much. So I think at this point most of our real in-depth hard stuff is done, and now we just build our screens. And what's really cool with this approach is you can imagine if you were coming into a project at this point where you had all this code already written, and you would consider this like your starting framework or your starting point, and you could build a project based upon these core classes and files that you already created to deal with your database, to deal with security, to deal with configuration, and to deal with your MVC layout. So your models, your views, your controllers, so that's already done, your routing, everything. And so now that's done, and now each application upon that is going to be different. So now you just build out your controllers, your models, and your views that you need specifically for the project that you're working on. So that's the cool place that we're at right now, is we can kind of assume that this is done. Now we're going to circle back around and do a few features that people have suggested maybe at the end. But for the most part, we're going to be working on the screens from now on. So let's go ahead and switch over to our screen here. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And I'm going to create a new branch by using git checkout with a -b flag to tell it to create a new branch. And by the way, it will create a new branch from whatever branch I'm on. So since I'm on my main branch, it will branch off of that branch to create a new one, and this will be v30. The next thing I'm going to do is I want this to also exist on the remote GitHub server. So I just need to do a git push, and then I'm going to do a set upstream flag like this and tell it that it's going to the origin and also to a branch called v30. Alright, so now that that's done, we are working on the correct branch. Let's go ahead and jump into our program here. Now, if you go to CMS admin users, we have this user portal, and you have to be logged in for this. And if you're an admin user, you'll see the users table. And what I'd like to do is just finish up in this video. We're going to finish up the functionality for our users. So we're going to add the ability to block these users, and to that'll be a toggle, so you can block and unblock users, and then you can also delete users. And then we're going to show that status if they're blocked or not here. And then we're going to put some logic in for permissions if a user is blocked and they're trying to log in. So that's what we're trying to finish up here. And then the next video, I think we'll be able to finish the categories in one video: the table, the forms, the adding, deleting, all the CRUD operations. And then the articles may take us 2, but it might also be 1 video. And then we'll jump into just displaying our articles on the front end, and we'll be done. All right, so let's go ahead now and finish up our user stuff. And the first thing that I think we should do probably is just add some stuff here for the front end. And so let's go ahead to our code base here and go to app. And we are working, go ahead and go to the controllers. We were working on the admin controller. Okay, so this controller here is for all of our admin uses. The next thing that we're going to open up is we're going to go to our views and go to admin and open up users. And this right here will be our users. The next thing that we're going to need open is, let's go ahead and open up, go to models and open up users, the user model here. All right, once we've done that, what we're going to do now is go to the view, so the HTML of the view here, and we're going to add more to this actions area. So we have in the table, this last table data row right here is for actions, and there's going to be a couple more buttons here. So let's go ahead and add another button here, and we're just going to use an anchor tag here, and we'll give this an href, and we'll make, we're going to make this equal to our root of our project, and then it's going to go to admin / toggle block user. So we haven't created that yet. The next thing that we're going to pass into that is our user ID. So we're going to echo out user ID, just like that. And then outside of this, let's go ahead and give this a class, and we're going to give it a, in the wrong spot there. We'll give this a class, and this will be button small, and let's do let's see, maybe we'll change this if they're blocked or not. Let's do, for now, let's just do button. What do we have at our disposal? Let's look at Bootstrap here. So go to getbootstrap.com. We are on version 4.6 right now. So I'm gonna click on the 4.6 docs, go to components, and then buttons. And this shows our variations of buttons. And so we have info that we're already using for our edit. We could use this warning, but I don't know about that. Let's use the secondary, and if they are blocked, it'll show a warning, because I want to save the danger for using delete. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll use secondary for now, and we'll come back and clean this up a little bit. So for now, we're just going to put button secondary there, and then I'm going to go ahead and close that A tag there. And then what we want to do is we want to have dynamic text in this button if they're blocked or unblocked. And so we're just going to echo out a ternary operator, and we're going to say if the user is blocked. Let me see if I can scroll over a little bit. If the user is blocked, then we're going to use the text unblock. Else we're going to use the text block. And we'll close that echo PHP tag there. So that's what that line will look like there. Now, if this is too sloppy for you, we can break this down into another line here, just so you can easily kind of see this whole structure in one go. Since I'm zoomed in on my text, it takes up quite a bit of space. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like here. So we have block, so none of our users are currently blocked. But if we go to the database and we click on our users here, let me just block Tony by putting that as a 1, and then let's see if that works. Okay, so Tony now is blocked in the database, so now that will say unblock. Okay, so next, and my AC is going to kick on here. Sorry, it's getting a little hot. It should kick off fairly quick though. So now I'm satisfied with this. Let's go ahead and change that color of that button if they're blocked. And that's just another ternary operator. So what we're going to do here is in the class, let's just do another PHP echo, and we're going to say if the user is blocked, then we are going to if the user is blocked, so I turn that into a ternary operator there. If the user is blocked, then we're going to use our button warning. Else, we're going to use the button secondary. So let me save that and go back and refresh. What did I break? Let's see, 2, and that's because I'm missing the quotes here for the class. Refresh. There we go. So now this button is a warning button if to unblock them. You could reverse that if you want. I don't know. It's whatever UX you want. I'm not trying to get too crazy on UX design here or making smart decisions with that. We're just making it work. All right, so now we have this, and it will actually go to the toggle block user endpoint, which we haven't created yet. So let's go ahead and create that. Go back to the code base here, and we're going to go to the admin controller. And in the admin controller, we're going to create a new action. So right now we have this users action. That's underneath that. Let's create a new action, and let's call this, it's a public function. Oops. And it is going to be called toggle block user, and then we have to add the action word on there because it's an action. And it's going to take one parameter, and that one parameter is going to be the user ID. Okay, then what we want to be able to do is we want to make sure they have permission to actually do this. So we're going to do a little bit. We have this function that we already built out here, and I told you that if we had to do this again, we wanted to create some sort of function to handle this. And so let's see. Let's go ahead, because this is going to be a very standard thing where we're going to check a permission, and then we're going to give them some sort of message, and we're going to redirect them. And so let's go ahead and create a function that can do all of that pretty quickly. And to do that, I'm just going to copy this right here, just so we have it. And then let's go to I think we'll add this and go to core and go to the router. Let's add it to the router because we already have a redirect here. And let's actually create a public static function, and we'll call this something easy. Let's just do permission redirect. That's kind of long, but maybe we'll just do perm redirect. Perm redirect. We can call it whatever we want here. That's the beauty of programming something yourself. You can make it names that make sense to you. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this here, or paste this from the other line. Now this isn't going to work as it is. I just have this as a reference because this is what we always do. So first and foremost, we need to make sure we have a session and a router set up. And so let's make sure that we use that we are in the router, so we don't need to do that, but we need to make sure session, we have access to session. So we can say use, and then we'll say core session, like that. And so we should be good with that functionality. And then the other thing is we don't have, in this context, this is not part of this scope, and we're in a static function, so we can't use this, which is why there's red squigglies. So instead, what we need to do is we need to understand that we're checking the user. We're going to pass in the user here. So instead of this current user, it's just going to be user. Okay, so this is going to take a user. Now what we could do is we could actually assume that this is for the yeah, let's go ahead and make an assumption here, which not always is a great idea, but let's do use app models users. And then down here, what we're going to do is inside of here, instead of passing in user, we're just going to say user is equal to, and then we're going to say user is equal to users get current user. Okay, and then we don't need to worry about passing in user then, because we can just get it from our current logged in user. Now allowed will need to be user, and it has the perm of admin, which we're going to make that dynamic in a second. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that there is a user set. So we're going to say user and the user has permission. So this, if this comes back false because there's no current logged in user, this will also be false. Okay. And then this user has permission. We want to make this part dynamic. So we're going to pass in as a first parameter just a perm. And then So we want to make sure that they're admin there. The next, so we can replace that right there with just a perm. Okay, and then if they're not allowed, we want to redirect them somewhere. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to add our redirect as a second parameter, and I'll show you why we'll do that as the second one in a second. But we can just put the redirect right in here. Okay, and then the session message, I kind of want this to be a default, so we don't have to pass this in every time, but if we want to pass something in else, we could. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do message, but we're going to set the default equal to you do not have access to this page. Okay, like that. And then instead of passing this here, we're just going to pass down our message like that. So now we have session and router, and both of these will work because we are in the router right here. Now we could use the keyword self here. Oops. We could say self redirect, which would be fine as well. But I think I'm just going to keep it as router for now. You know what? Let's just do self. We are in that context, so we can use that. All right. So now we just need to, when we go to use this, we can use our router. So in the admin controller here, what we can do right here is we can actually replace this whole section in the users action with, we'll do router, and then we'll do perm redirect, and we want to make sure that this user is an admin user. And if they're not, we're going to redirect them to admin/articles. And then we can just get rid of all of this. And now our permission check and our forward is right there. So now that we have that sort of structure, we can start using that a lot easier. And so we don't have to have these big user actions just to check permissions. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. We're going to say router perm redirect, and on this one, this is the current one we're working on. We do want them to also be admin, otherwise they can't change the block status of a user. And if they're not, we will also, I guess, forward them to admin articles. And the reason I'm sending them to articles is because if they don't have permission here, then they probably don't have permission to go to the users page either. They're just trying to do something weird, and I don't want to cause like an infinite redirect. So we'll just send them right to the articles page, like that. All right. So now that we have that, we can do. We want to get our user. And the user here is going to be, let's say equals, let me see if there's a better way to do this than the way I did it originally. Well, we'll just use users, the users class, and we're going to say find by. I don't really like, yeah, sure, we'll just do find by ID, and then we're going to pass the user ID directly into that, and that will get our user object. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to, if there is a user, so if the database finds a user, then we're going to set user blocked equal to, and then we're going to use our user blocked ternary, and if they are blocked, we're going to set this to 0 because it'll toggle it, and then we'll set it to 1 if they're not blocked. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say user save, and then we're going to set the message equal to, if the user is blocked, then we're going to set the message to user blocked, else it's going to be set to user unblocked. Okay, and then once we have that, we're gonna do a session message, and here what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass in the message, and then we're gonna pass in, we want this to be a success message, and then oops, I forgot the double colon here. I only have a single colon. And then once that's set up, then we're going to do the router redirect. So this action isn't going to have a view. Basically what's going to happen is they're going to click this block or unblock button, and it's going to route them to this block user action. It's going to change the database setting, and then it's going to immediately reroute them. So what we're going to reroute them to is we're going to route them back to the admin users page. So let's go ahead and test that out now. If I come here and I click unblock, you can see that it takes us right back to the page here, and it says user unblocked, and you can see that it reloads the page. I could do the same thing here where we try to block a user, and we can block as many of these as we want, and then we can unblock them as well. So now our block and unblock is working. That toggle works. The thing is we probably need to add, while we're working on the blocked, let's go ahead and add functionality to where when a person tries to log in and they're blocked, we can actually redirect them. So let's go now and make sure that the user is logged in. So we need to go to our models users. Okay, so that's this function here, and let's look for the login method. Let me see here. So the login method will check if the user, we need to check somewhere if the user is blocked or not, okay? I'm trying to figure out where I want to do this, because we can do this in multiple places. It's probably best to not do this on the login, although we could. It might be best to do this from the get current user, because that'll get called on every page load. So if the user's logged in doing stuff and we block them, we want it to kick them out basically. And so let's go ahead and add that function to the get current user, I think, which also seems like a weird place to do it, but it's not that bad. So what we'll do here is let's go down to, we have this self, if not self login from cookie. It's like logging them in. Right before the return, I guess, let's just go ahead and do if self current user. Okay, so if self current user and current, and sorry about that, self current user, so if self current user and self current user blocked, okay, then what we're going to do is we're actually going to self current user log out. So we're just going to log them right on out if they're blocked. Now the thing that we could do is we could let them know that they're blocked. So let me see what the best way to handle that is. We should probably give them some sort of a message here. So what we'll do is let's do a session message, And the session message that we'll set here is you are currently blocked. Please talk to an admin to resolve this. Otherwise, they're not going to know why we're logging them out. So this function gets called like every time the application is run, and so at any time we block them, that should work. So let's test that out. Let's go ahead and block Tony. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out here of Tony, or myself, and I'm going to log in as Tony and see what happens. So if I log in as Tony, it should, yeah, it just forwards you back, it logs out, it says you are currently blocked, please talk to the admin to resolve this. So no matter what they do, it's going to log them out. Now what we could do, let me just go to the database here, and I'm going to prove to you that this will just log them out. So I'm going to go to blocked, and I'm going to unblock Tony just in the database here, and I'm going to allow Tony to log in. And let's say Tony logs in, and she's doing some crazy stuff in the articles, maybe writing some articles that she's not authorized to write, or just we're like, look, we need to kick her off. Then the admin user would log in and just change Tony's permissions to blocked here, which I'm going to simulate that by just changing it in the database. And let's say she's doing something and she goes here, and we have a problem. Oh, I see. So this actually works, but she's not logged in anymore. So we need to make sure that people can't go to this articles page. So all we need to do here to make sure that works is go to admin controller, and in the articles action right here, which we haven't done anything with, we can just add the router perm redirect, and we want to make sure that they have what is she? Tony is an author, so we want to make sure that they are an author here, and we're going to redirect them to blog index. So if I go back here and refresh, there we go. So now Tony doesn't have access to that page, even if she tries to. And so she got two warnings. One would be you're currently blocked, talk to admin, and you don't have access to this page. If she refreshes, those are going to go away, but she can't do anything. She can still visit the site, but if she tries to log in, again, this is going to kick her right back out. And so there we go. So let's go ahead and set Tony back to 0. She's not blocked anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and log in as myself now, which is an admin user, and make sure that my permission works. So I'm going to go to the add author portal, and of course this doesn't work. And the reason that this doesn't work is because I just told it that that the permission needs to be author or admin. And so what I probably need to do is we need to be able to pass in an array for the perm. So let's look at this has permission. Oops. If we go to the user, there's a has permission function here. And we need to make this a little bit better. So let's check. Let's do a check and see if this can also be an array. So I want to pass an array of permissions in here. And so if I do, it'll be like if ACL, well, we can say if is array, that's a built-in PHP function, ACL, if that's an array, then what we're going to do is just we're going to return this ACL, and what we want to do is we're going to say if in array, this ACL will be the needle, and then the haystack will be ACL, which will be an array at that point. So if it's an array, we want to check to see if the ACL is in that array, else we want to check this. So let's go now and go back to our admin controller, and right here, instead of author on this page, they can be an author, and we'll make this an array, or they can be an admin. Okay, so if I save that now and we try to go back to the author portal, you can see that now I'm an admin, but I can go ahead and access this. So that's what we want to do. Categories action doesn't exist yet, so we're back to this. Everything's working swell. Now let me see how much time we've spent here. Probably we're about at 30 minutes, so this won't be too bad. We just need to delete users now, and we're going to use the same kind of method to delete a user, but we're going to add a little bit of JavaScript just to give them a warning. So let's go ahead and start with the well, you know what, we didn't do the status yet, so let's do the status and the button for to delete. And so what we can do, let's go to our view, which is this users.php, and we're going to add another thing here, and let's just go ahead and add a button here. And the button, we'll do that. We'll give this thing a class equal to button small, and then this is going to be button danger. Oops, danger. And then the text that we're going to put here is just delete. So let's save that now and refresh. Okay, so now we have these delete buttons. The other thing I'd like to do is just right align these so that it lines up over here. So what we could do here, in this TD, let's just try this. Let's do class equals text right. Let's see if that works. There we go. So now we have our buttons over here, and let's go ahead while we're here, let's fill in that status now that we have that, which is super easy. So the status here is this TD, and all we have to do here is we can echo a ternary operator. We're going to say if the user is blocked, then we're going to have the text of blocked, else we're going to have the text of active, like that. We'll close our PHP echo tag there, and now if we refresh, all of our users here are active, and if we block someone, now this person is blocked and it says blocked there. So we can block and unblock people, and their status will be like that. Now we could do like a red and a green text if we wanted there, but I don't think that that's really that necessary at this point. So let's work on this delete functionality. So this delete button, we actually want to call a JavaScript function if they click this. And so in order to do this, we're going to add an onClick event, and we can do that right here in the HTML as an attribute. So we're going to say onClick, and then what we're going to do is on the onClick event, we're going to fire off confirm delete function, which we haven't created yet. And in here we're going to have single quotes, and then we're going to do a PHP echo, and we're going to echo our user ID so that we can pass in the user ID into that, and we'll close our PHP there. And that's it for the HTML. Now we're going to need to add that function. So what we can do is down here underneath this last div, we can add the functionality here by adding a script tag. And this is how we're going to add some JavaScript here. Now this JavaScript is going to be super simple, and so I know we haven't learned JavaScript, but it's going to be pretty easy. We need a function called confirm delete. So just create a function called confirm delete. Now this is going to take one parameter, and this is going to be our user ID. Now in JavaScript, you don't put like a $sign for that. You just type user ID. So in here, we're just gonna do an if check, and we're gonna say if window.confirm, which is built in. If window.confirm, and we're gonna have our text here. We're gonna say, are you sure you want to delete the user? This cannot be undone. Okay, And then that's an if statement. So we're going to add the brackets here. And if they click yes, we're going to say window.location.href, and we're going to send them to, and I'm going to use some backticks here because I can do string literals there. And what we're going to do is we're going to echo out root, and then we're going to say admin / delete user / and then I can use $ curly brackets and pass in my user ID right here. And that will, what that'll do is this will actually change the window location for us. So we could have just made it an A tag like we did with a block and unblock, but because this is more of a serious thing, I wanted to give them at least a JavaScript warning. And so if I refresh now and we click delete, we get this window pop up that says, are you sure you want to delete the user? This cannot be undone. If I hit cancel, it doesn't do anything. If I hit OK, it's going to it's actually going to try to redirect me, which will be a problem because we haven't created that action yet. So I'm gonna hit back it. I'm just actually gonna create a user that I can delete. And I'm just gonna call this user delete me, and it'll be delete me at mailinator.com. We'll give them a role of admin or author, sure. We'll give them a password. We'll hit save. Now our user's created and we have this delete me user. All right, so let's go ahead and do our back end for this, which is super simple. We're gonna go to the back to the admin controller, and we're gonna add a new action. We'll do it underneath our toggle block user action. And this is going to be a public function called delete user, and it's going to take in a user ID, just like that. And then what we can do is we're going to use our router perm redirect function. We're going to say router perm redirect, and we only will care if they're an admin user here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to redirect them to the user. Well, if they don't have this, again, let's just go ahead and send them to the articles page like that, or try to. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use our user is equal to users find by ID method, and we're going to pass down our user ID, and then we're going to say, hey, if we found the user in a database, then what we're going to do is we're going to do user delete, which will delete that user. And then what we're going to do here is, up here, let's set a message. Message type will be danger, and the message will be user cannot be deleted. So we're going to do one more check there as well. And then inside, if there is a user, then we're going to change that message type to success, and then we're going to change the message to user deleted. And I got two. There we go. And then what we're going to do is down here underneath this if statement, we're going to do our session message, and we're going to pass in our message and our message type into that, and then we're going to do a router redirect, and we'll redirect them to our admin users page, which will take them back. The other check I want to do here is we're going to say if there's a user and the user ID does not equal, and we'll say users get current user ID. So we don't want the user to be able to log them or to delete themselves. So this is what this check is going to do. So if the user ends up being the current logged in user, it's not going to delete them. Okay, so we'll save that. And here, let's go ahead and refresh, which we don't need to do. But I'm going to go ahead and try to delete myself here. Hit OK. Delete user action does not exist. Let me hit back. And let's look at that. And that's because I forgot to put the action word on the end of this delete user. So it's delete user action. If I save that now, and we go, and I'm going to try to delete myself. And it says user cannot be deleted, so it didn't delete me. But let's try to delete this user. It says delete me here. And we'll say, yep, delete that user. And now it says user deleted, and indeed they are gone. So now we have our full CRUD operations for all of our users. And we're not really going to do anything else, I think, to manage our users. We have editing the user, which you can edit and change their password and whatever. You can block them, which will log them out, or you can delete them, and you can also add new ones. And so this is the full functionality of our users page. Alright guys, well I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. If you have, please give me a comment on what you learned in this video. Comments go a long way, and it also helps build our community and helps me grow as a creator and helps me teach you. And so I want to make sure you learned what I anticipated to teach you in this lesson. So let me know what your favorite thing is about this video and what you learned. And I will see you guys in the next video. If you guys want some sweet merch, head over to freeskills.life. And if you would like to support me, you can go to patreon.freeskills. All right, love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.